welcome to the final video in this series. So this is all about finding your voice as a writer. And I want to frame it a little differently right off the bat. So it's really about choosing your authentic voice as a writer over your inner critic. So, for instance, even the phrase, finding your voice, it acts as if your voice is somewhere outside of you and you've lost it and you need to find it. And we all know that's kind of laughable. That's not true. Really, finding your voice is about embodying your voice and making it a habit, time after time, to choose your real, authentic self, your real, authentic voice over your inner critic. So, to get started with that, I want to bring out kind of something obvious to distinguish. So, your inner critic is all about the thoughts, right? It's usually a reel of doubts and thoughts and often insults that are pretty painful when they come in. And so, this is not your creative self. This is your ego. And what we want to do is make the simple choice to keep coming back to our creative self. So our creative self, it's actually not just up in our head. Sure, we get great ideas and that's all good fun. But your creative self is your whole self, your whole body, your emotions, your experiences, things you've been through. All of this comes together in a full-bodied experience that makes us creative. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you'll become so much more creative when you're in the shower or after a nice long walk? It's because you're really moving that creative body and allowing the ideas to be released. Even in the chakras. So there are different neuron bundles, different neural bundles at different points in your bodies. And that's actually where the chakras are aligned. They discovered that in the 20th century. And so that's why I use this process to really get you centered in your body and start getting creative. So I think that's enough background information for now. If you're curious about this, there's always more in the packet. But let's do a really fun exercise that's going to help you distinguish between your creative self and your critic. So, first of all, let's just check into our body for a minute. So, feel yourself inside your body. Where are you? You're kind of perceiving through your eyes. Maybe you can feel yourself in your tummy. Maybe you can feel the cells of your hands. Maybe your hands feel really alive. So that's your consciousness. And I want you to take your consciousness and I want you to, I just did it myself, I want you to center it in your heart. We're doing it together. So just center in your heart for a moment. So what you feel, that consciousness, that maybe you feel it glowing out of your heart, maybe you just feel it as the presence of your breath. That's your energy body. That is not your ego. That's the part of you that perceives. It's what keeps you alive. It's your soul, if you will. And so let's keep that in the heart. Now let's just have a little fun. So now move it out of your heart and move it into your hand. Can you feel it into your hand? Now, can you feel it in your heart and in your hand at the same time? So this is actually a fun little meditative game that I like to play with myself whenever I'm getting myself out of my head and into my body. Because really, it's your full body that's going to come up with these different ideas, and you want to choose that. You want to choose the safety and the soul of your body over this inner critic. Because if you look at our human consciousness, it has so many facets. And if there's anything I have to say about the inner critic, it's how it steals that consciousness that really belongs to all of us, and it spools us up like a little thread. It spools all of our consciousness up into little fear thoughts. And so if you're ever feeling really anxious or blocked, that's, from doctors to yoga teachers, to me, we say just get out of your head and get into your heart. The throat chakra, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, is sometimes referred to as the chimney of the heart. This is how you get your emotions into your writing and you really connect with your readers. So I want you to remember that whenever your inner critic is making you feel small, that smallness is because it's taken your consciousness and spooled it like a little string around a little spool of thread and made you that small. So the other thing about the inner critic, which is going to help us stop choosing that guy, is that it's very boring. Oftentimes when I'm talking to people during a coaching session, they'll come at me with, what if it's not good enough? Maybe I just shouldn't do this. All of these fears and feelings of inadequacy. And really, when you look at it, that same thing over and over again. What if this isn't good enough? Maybe I should just step down. Maybe I should not do it. That's really boring. And so one way you can immediately tell your inner critic is by how extremely boring it is. So when we get into our body, when we get into our real heart's desire, our creative being, we're going to have an adventure, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to take it one step at a time. And one way to silence that inner critic is just to recognize how boring and repetitive it is. Sometimes people call it limiting beliefs because the same ones come up all the time. So in the course materials, there's a little space in your workbook. You can go ahead and start to label that inner critic. In the exercise I've provided, we even name it. So when you can see how repetitive it is, that's the first step to choosing your creative self. Once you've recognized your inner critic and how boring it is, let's welcome you back to your imagination. Welcome to the time and space that your creativity deserves. You are worthy of creating this piece. So now let's just let the magic happen. You have all the tools to get started. Take the materials you brought in from inspiration, mix them with that time and space to actually get this done, and move forward. There are so many tools and resources in the community, as well as great friends to support you on your way. Thank you so much for joining me for this quick video series, and I can't wait to hear about your progress, and I can't wait to help you launch your book.